Okay, so what is the end game of this whole monetary situation? We always said it was control, and we always said everything was an illusion, building and building and building, and crashing on purpose. Like, it all is coming together, and this is where it comes together. This is where it comes to a head in this video. So we talked about the Civil War and how the first dollar bills are issued and used, and we talked about post-Civil War as the Industrial Revolution really starts to kick into gear and populations start to move from agrarian to urban and start to work for a predetermined wage by central government, again because manufacturers were more willing to pay in currency than they were willing to pay in gold or silver, simply because gold and silver had much more value. I mean, they always said, well, no, this is worth what it's worth in gold, but it really never was. And again, no one ever got proof of how much gold or silver was ever stored. You're just taking it on confidence, and the government says, no, we have like this many tons of gold, which is why that dollar is worth what it's worth, stored over here. Well, can we go visit and see that? No, you can't. Well, can you, like post information on it to where we can at least get some confidence? No, we can't do that either. So really, you might as well have been saying there was nothing there, because we're taking on confidence, which is why 1974 was no big deal when Richard Nixon said it officially, because everybody's like, well, it's been like 50 years, and we even got to tour the vault once with reporters, and just based on the pictures and stuff they took, there was nowhere near the amount of gold and silver needed to sufficiently cover the amount of debt and currency circulating around the globe right now. By far. It was by far not enough. So, again, how does this all kind of be? Why? What you said, well, currency makes power, and they just evaluated it, so now the government has no power because there's no value in their currency anymore. Well, again, you can't trade with the enemies. You can still trade with other countries, but your money is basically worthless in Europe with the Allies because it's worthless. Your government just crashed it on you. Because they already have all your physical commodity that's worth anything. Your gold and silver that England would have happily taken. Because again, they said trading with the enemies. It didn't say anything about trading with the Allies. You could have hoarded all that gold and silver and said, I'm using it to trade with England. They're an ally. They're not an enemy. But that was the vagueness of the law, trading with the enemies. See, it simply just meant because you have large amounts of gold or silver, you must be having it to trade with the enemies. Because if you wanted to trade with the Allies, you could have just easily used dollar bills. Yeah, or we could have just easily used gold and silver, which we've been using. That's the same freaking argument then. If you want to argue it, I could have just been using dollar bills, and then I must be hoarding this because I'm some sort of illegal person who's trading with enemies. I'm not just using it to trade with other Americans or trade with allies. That's the vagueness of the law, worded in such a way as to make you completely agree with it and give up freedom, give up your own freedom, and give up your own liberty. That's how these things are worded, on purpose. On purpose. It's not done out of ignorance of the people in charge. Like, wow, really, our people are they're that kind-hearted in their heart of hearts. They want to do right, and they're just so dumb when it comes out of their mouth. It just gets worded that way. Their hands just are epileptic, and somehow they got some sort of palsy, and when they write the law, it just comes out with all these mistakes and stuff. No, very much no, very much the complete opposite. As much as those in power would like you to believe they're complete idiots, and that your confidence is low in them, not because they're putting out bad policies, but because you just don't like their charisma, or you just don't like the way they act in public. That's the purpose. You're not paying attention to the policies because you're too much paying attention to how much they're like Kim Kardashian, or how much, that's what I'm saying, is you're looking at the whole wrong way of looking at it. It's completely different than what you're looking at it. And that's part of the manipulation. That's part of when we had these meetings saying, what are the things we should do? These are the ideas that came up. We said, yeah, we need to pose a false image that people will pay attention to. We need to make that truth, because the more that's truth, the less this is truth. Or the less this truth matters, because it's diluted with that truth. And that's part of the game. If you want to say that's part of the business, is doing that. That's why after a while you just have to leave it and be like, I can't do this. I can't have anything to do with that. It's all about control and manipulation. It really is, and here we're going to see it. This is where it comes full throttle, where it really starts to hit the fan, and people realize there's no escape. Not only is there no escape, but there's more destruction coming, because World War II is right around the corner. And a lot of people like to look at it as, well, that's our economic boom. You're going to notice how horrible it really is how we were in doing this. And as much as we're looked at as being the heroes who saved the world from World War II, we're actually as much as we are the heroes, we're much the same villains. We are really villains in World War II, and we'll express that here in just a little. Maybe I'll get to it in this video. It might be the next video. It just depends on how far I get in the history of this. Going down rabbit holes, the questions I think someone would ask along the way as I'm doing this, pertinent to the information, I try to answer right there, which puts me along so many rabbit holes sometimes, and why sometimes I have to come back in future videos and re-go over something for just a little bit to greatly expand upon it. So right now we're in, the stock market's just crashed. We're in the late 1920s, early 1930s. You've got the infamous tent cities, cardboard cities being set up around the nation because everyone is just absolutely poor. They're destitute. Like, remember how we said, what are you going to do when you're making that money back and no one wanted to accept it? Just go to Montana and buy land and cows. How are you going to take care of it? How are you going to do it? You'd greatly starve before you get to the first harvest. Well, yeah. Proof to the point, proof to the prophecy. When the stock market crashes, what do all these people try to do? I mean, they're in cities. They try to mass exodus to cities if they can, but they realize very quickly that even if we were to go right to the border of the city and start foraging for food, it's going to be a while before our crops can come up, and we can't even buy the land. So we're vagrants on the land, like the people who own the land, or whatever, the government who mostly owns all the land. We can't just go on and start making crop. So what are we going to do? We're just going to huddle around the cities and start doing what we can. We're going to be vagrants, vagabonds, because again, we would starve before the first harvest came up. And yeah, mass homelessness. What do we read about in textbooks, right? At least they do teach that correctly. Mass homelessness and wooden shelters, cardboard, very, very basic wooden shelters, cardboard and tents, tent cities and stuff. Thank you, Woodrow Wilson. And what was all this for? Well, if they would have had their gold or silver 20 years prior, because he didn't force the dollar bills on them, there wouldn't have been a problem when the stock market crashed. Because most of them didn't use dollar bills. They didn't care about the stock market. They would have just gone on with their lives, trading and doing what they're doing. But because you forced, through law, through legislation, you forced every American to turn over their gold and silver, what they had that gave value worldwide, what they had, all the currency, the millions of dollars they might have had in American dollar bills, was worthless because it was all crashed. It was no good. And that's all they had now. And guess what? In a little way, the people who still had gold and silver found out that it was pretty much for the most part worthless if they couldn't get it to another country. Because since there's just nothing on the shelves to buy, it doesn't matter how much gold or silver you're willing to hand the cashier. There's nothing on the shelves to buy. You know what I'm saying? So unless you can get to a distributor, which would be in this case another country, which would be even great trouble. I mean, again, this isn't the day of the internet where I'm going to go online and go to England's website and start ordering stuff from Yahoo over there, from Walmart over there. No, you got to have people for that. You got people for that? They didn't have people for that. It just wasn't there. They worked as factory workers. They knew factory workers. They worked at the docks. They knew people at the docks. Like, it was very difficult. A lot of people suffered and got put even further into slavery. This is where slavery, boom, if you didn't believe any of this was slavery, if you didn't believe the goal was to expound slavery, this is where it should really solidify it. And I guess if it doesn't, I don't know what would in history like really solidify it, because this is the point where, hey, you want to prove you're a slave? What's one of the best ways a slave owner proved the slave was his back in the day when he purchased a slave? Same way he did a cow, because he considered it property, right? He considered the human property that he had just purchased, and he branded the human. Branded him. Put a mark on the human to prove that human tried to escape, that whoever found that human and found that mark, that they should return it to that owner because that was their brand, their copyright, their trademark, their proof of ownership. That was theirs. Disgusting. Well, guess what? We're expanding upon it because the government is about to put their brand on you. They're about to force you finally into the final act of slavery, into the final proof of slavery is to give over yourself to the government, and this is how they do it. Everyone's freaking out. People are living in tents. It's been like a year or so since the stock market crashed. There's no answers. People are starving in the streets. They're grumbling against the government. What is going on? You promised you were going to protect us and take care of us. It's supposed to be part of the Constitution that you would ensure the safety and security of the people and the welfare of the public. And look at the welfare, man. We are not faring very well, are we? And you're failing in your job to do this. And the government said, you know what? We absolutely are. We're so sorry. We didn't mean to do that. Lie. Did mean. This whole thing has been leading to this. The whole thing. Since the Civil War. The whole thing. Since the Civil War. At least. So it was actually part of the Civil War. But for the point of this video, since the Civil War, since the creation of the dollar bill, has been to do this. It's been the end game. Is to do this. This was the point. We're going to fix it. How many times have you heard that statement recently? There's a problem. We're going to fix it. Wait. Who created the problem? You created the problem, and you're going to fix it? Why would I trust you to fix the Why would I trust the person who created the problem to fix the problem? Okay. What's your idea to fix it? What's your idea? Okay. Well, here's what we're going to do. We may not have all the gold and silver we need to just go ahead and give that back to you and take all your dollars back. Because, hey, wouldn't that be the first thing in my mind when the stock market crashed, right? Oh, all my dollars are worthless, well, I might as well go get the gold or silver I can back to trade with. Oh no, I can't do that because there's legislation put out. There's executive order put out saying I can't go right now. It's been suspended. Me. Yeah. Really? Google. Hey Google. I in fact am going to promote something right now. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. I'm going to promote it anyway because I used to use it a lot. I still sort of do for some academic articles. But Google Scholar, not Google, Google Scholar. At least when you look up things through that, it's all academic, scholarly journals only. It means the search engine still runs worldwide, but it only searches for scholarly articles, academic articles, actually accredited from colleges or through academia, scientific journals, and whatnot. Take that as you will. A lot of people don't believe in those articles anyway. They think that's a different form of indoctrination. Okay, I think there's meat on those bones as well. So if you, in facts like this, look up this fact. See if this be true scholarly. It is absolutely true scholarly. Okay, so here we are. Money is worthless, and you've been suspended from being able to try and go to the reserves, so there won't be a mass rush on the reserves to try and get the gold or silver. Because guess what? There's not enough gold or silver for the money printed. We can't tell you that. And it would be a dead giveaway if you all tried to get it right now. And what would we do with the dollar bills anyway? We just crashed it. So what would we do with those dollar bills? We're not going to trade anything with them. They're worthless. Haven't you guys heard they're worthless? Of course they're worthless. We just made them worthless. You just made them worthless. Okay. Oh, it is such a plan. Such a great manipulation on the people. And it took 50 years to do this because you couldn't do it in one generation. They would see right through that veil and wait for their kids and their kids' kids to come up in it. Yeah, that's the same thing happening today. Anyway, so what's the answer? What are they going to do? Well, here's what we're going to do. Can't give you the gold or silver. But it just so happens that we can use some of these dollar bills and give them to our own farmers to collect the food and stuff they've been making, and we'll just distribute it to you directly. How about we do that? And people were like, oh, you're just going to give us food and stuff, like, directly? We don't... Well, that kind of sucks. I mean, we want to use our money, but, that'll save us. At least we're not going to die. So, yeah, let's do that, okay. And that's where you get the food lines from, right? What was the requirement again to get in those food lines? Oh, you just show up and get in the food line. Just show up and stand in the line and they give you the food, right? Because you're American. Obviously, you live here. And it's just easy to see. You look around like, oh, this person's desk. No. Can't do that. Are you kidding me? How are we supposed to guarantee you're not like an immigrant who's here illegally or something? And you're not just standing in line to get the free food. So we can't give out more free food than we want to give out. We have to make sure we're only giving out the exact amount of free food. We gotta be fiscal about this, guys. We gotta save money. We gotta be thrifty. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take that extra money that could have easily been lost on what we supposed were something happening that probably wasn't gonna happen. But instead, we'll go ahead and reallocate that money and say we're gonna use it to create an agency that will oversee to make sure that only American citizens are getting the assistance that we're giving out. And this is how we're gonna do it. Anyone who wants to get assistance, you're going to have to take a number. we're gonna issue you a number, and it's gonna secure you socially. It's gonna secure your social status. We're gonna make sure you at least get enough food and water to drink and survive. You're not gonna die of hunger. That's what we're gonna do. It's gonna secure you socially. What should we call that? I got an idea. Let's call it the Social Security Card. Yeah, that sounds good. We'll give you a Social Security number that'll secure your status socially. It'll make sure that in times of great distress like this, where there's just nothing to eat because you can't buy anything because the money's not worth anything and you can't give it back to us, but we're going to go ahead and buy that food on your behalf using the same money that we're printing to give to these farmers and give you the food directly. And all we want is you to take a number. Just take a number so that we know it's you. We can prove you are who you are. We can look out for you. We can make sure you're okay. We just want to make sure you're okay. Please, don't go hungry. Take the number. Take the number.